It started as a whisper, then it became a headline, and now it's a full-blown political disaster. Virginia's Democratic Attorney General candidate Jay Jones is watching his campaign implode in real time. After a series of leaked text messages, violent, explicit, and deeply unsettling, shocked voters across the state. The man once hailed as a rising political star is now hanging by a thread, and the fallout is growing by the hour. Here's what happened. A few weeks ago, messages allegedly sent by Jay Jones surfaced online. In those texts, he fantasized about political opponents in ways that many described as violent and unstable. At first, his team claimed the texts were taken out of context. Then came the twist. Delegate Carrie Coyner, a Republican legislator, said she was the one who received those messages, and she claims they were mistakenly sent to her. That phrase, mistakenly sent, has become the center of the storm, because now everyone's asking, how do you accidentally send violent fantasies to an elected official? Was it really an accident, or was it something much darker? Now we're seeing the political consequences hit like a freight train. According to new internal polling leaked to local media, Jones' campaign is collapsing. His support among independents has fallen off a cliff. In some districts, he's dropped by double digits in less than a week. Even Democratic strategists are quietly panicking. One internal source reportedly said, "He's toxic now. We can't defend this." And to make matters worse, the Fraternal Order of Police has publicly demanded that Jones drop out of the race altogether. That's not just symbolic. That's law enforcement calling you unfit to lead law enforcement. It's the kind of blow campaigns rarely recover from. Here's where this story gets even more explosive. Jay Jones built his reputation on moral leadership. He campaigned on justice, ethics, and accountability. He criticized opponents for toxic rhetoric and divisive behavior. And yet, now, the very image he crafted, the calm, responsible public servant, has been shattered by his own words. It's a brutal example of political hypocrisy. The same people who preach restraint, civility, and compassion often end up exposed for the exact opposite. And what's more revealing is how quickly the political establishment closed ranks. At first, no major Democrat condemned him. They called it a personal matter or a misunderstanding. But imagine if this story were reversed. If a Republican candidate had sent violent messages to a Democrat, every major outlet would be running emergency coverage. Every political figure would be demanding resignation. But when it's one of their own, suddenly, silence becomes strategy. Let's talk about the media, because this scandal exposes another layer. How coverage works in America. When the story broke, most mainstream networks barely touched it. It was right-wing outlets and independent journalists who first amplified the leak. Then, when the backlash grew too loud to ignore, the big media players finally mentioned it. Briefly and carefully. No moral outrage, no editorial fury, just damage control. Compare that to how they handled the scandals of other politicians, especially conservatives. It's a textbook double standard. And this is exactly why public trust in journalism is collapsing. People can sense bias. They can smell selective outrage. They see how narratives are sculpted, not reported. But the biggest question remains, what really happened? Jones insists the messages were private, personal, and never meant to be seen. He claims they were sent mistakenly. But that explanation raises more questions than it answers. If they were just personal, why were they so violent? If it was a mistake, why hasn't he addressed who the intended recipient actually was? And if it's truly innocent, why are people within his own party calling for him to step aside? The public isn't buying it. Because the excuse doesn't make sense, and in politics, perception is everything. Now the fallout is spreading fast. Campaign donors are pulling support, grassroots volunteers are walking away, and local Democratic committees are debating whether to officially distance themselves from Jones. Meanwhile, Republicans are using the moment to their full advantage. They've already launched new attack ads linking Jones' violent language to broader concerns about Democratic leadership. It's brutal, but it's politics. And right now, Jones has handed them a weapon. From an outsider's perspective, this scandal isn't just about Jay Jones. It's about the illusion of moral superiority that dominates modern politics. Both parties claim to stand for decency and integrity, but time and again, those words collapse under the weight of human ego and ambition. The truth is, power corrupts, and arrogance blinds. Jones might survive legally, but politically, he's finished. And once again, the system reveals its true face. One that punishes honesty, rewards loyalty, and hides its rot behind talking points. In the end, voters aren't just judging Jay Jones. They're judging every politician who promised better and delivered the same old hypocrisy. This story isn't over. The investigations, the campaign infighting, the public backlash, it's all still unfolding. But one thing's clear, The fallout from these leaked texts has rewritten the race for Virginia's Attorney General and reminded everyone that power and accountability rarely live in the same room. I'm your host, and this is Outsider's Take. Subscribe for more truth-based analysis, because the headlines may fade, but the hypocrisy never does.